I hope my screen is visible. Okay, Chaitanya. Okay, Darshini. Okay, let us do a small recap. So yesterday we were discussing about the character pattern. I have introduced to reproduce the output in the form of character pattern. So I have given a small example. Okay, we have started from there. Right? So whenever the question is like, if the question is like you want to display the output in the form of a number pattern or the character pattern, first of all you should be able to produce the output in the form of star pattern. Once you are capable of producing the output in the form of star pattern, right? Getting these outputs are very is going to be very easy. You are just going to do a minor changes. You need to build a program in such a way that you are getting the star pattern output. After that, you have to do some modifications, right? And again, so we are taking two variables in the expression one. We have a for loop, and in the expression one, right, we are taking two variables. First variable is meant to produce the output in the form of star pattern or the number pattern. The second variable is going to produce the output in the form of character pattern. Depends upon the question, you can make changes, but it is highly recommended to use two variables, right? And we have seen few examples for vertical line star pattern and number pattern and character pattern. So this is the simple program, and we have discussed also we have generated output on top of inverted L pattern and L by using L pattern, inverted L pattern. After that, we did generated output in the form of square pattern. So we need to focus on getting the output in the form of star pattern, right? If you get this output, then remaining things are going to be easy. So, going to be easy. You will just make a small changes, right? And also we have done this also. So people find it very difficult as soon as they see the problem. First of all, they don't think about the approach. They think they do a lot of imagination. You are asked to produce this kind of output. Usually, people do a lot of imagination. But the idea here is first you generate this. First you generate this in the output, right? Then you can do some changes in your program to get the output in the form of number pattern or the character pattern. So we have discussed those changes yesterday in our yesterday classes, right? So making sense. I hope the recap is good. Right? Today we will also solve few more patterns. I'm just trying to complicate the problems. So from the simple problem, I'm trying to complicate the problem so that in future, right, if you work on these patterns, then it will be very easy for you to enhance your knowledge on for loops, the nested for loops. Right? In the real-time application, we are not going to use this, but only for the knowledge enhancement, only to develop a logical thinking. Okay, learning patterns are going to be helpful to develop any kind of programs, any kind of looping programs, especially. Shall we start? Are we good to start? Everyone, right? Say something. Please maintain the interaction. Okay. So today the question is like, today we are going to solve some interesting patterns. So write a Java program. Write a Java program to print increasing triangle or pattern. This is the question. Write a Java program to print increasing triangle. Let me do this spelling. the star button. Okay. Output should be this. Increasing triangle means the shape of the triangle in the increasing order. This should be the output. Right? So let us build a logic on top of this program. Let me go to the. Okay. Firstly, I will give you the idea of displaying this in the output. So let me take the main screen. Focus here. This will be very interesting. People who was not available yesterday, who skipped last three classes, listen to this class, you will get everything. So my intention is to generate output in this format, increasing triangle pattern. Increasing triangle pattern. Okay, how do I approach to solve this problem? Right? If you notice one thing here, right? Firstly, you need to think the number of lines. Firstly, you will have to focus on the number of lines, right? So, having said that, if you talk about the number of lines, this is line number 1, right? This is line number 1, line number 2, line number 3, line number 4, and line number 5, right? So, for each and every line, all the lines are taken care by a for loop, should be taken care by a for loop. Which for loop? Outer for loop. So we are going to appoint 2% here. We are going to appoint 2%. One is outer for loop. This is so this arrow okay, focus here guys, this will be very interesting. So this arrow is for outer for loop and this arrow is for inner for loop. What does it mean exactly? Right, I will be using a for loop, in this case outer for loop. This is not the don't find any syntactical mistakes, this is just for an understanding. Just in the outer for loop, I just want to ensure that the cursor is getting moved to the next line in each and every iteration. Here the cursor is going to play a vital role. Every time the outer for loop is getting executed, right, this for loop has to ensure that the cursor is getting shifted to the next line. This is the duty of the outer for loop. This is the job of the outer for loop. Okay, what did I just say? The job of the outer for loop is to ensure that the cursor, this is the cursor has to be moved to the next line for each and every iteration. Only the cursor movement will take care of only the cursor movement. Having said this, let me go back to the program. Let us develop a program with this logic. Taking one for loop for integer I equal to 1, I is lesser than or equal to 5, I plus plus. By the way, you can take any number. If you are taking 10, the size of the triangle is going to be increasing. If you are taking 20, the size of the triangle is going to be increasing. So this is the outer for loop. In this outer for loop, I am keeping the system.out.println statement. Right? The job of the outer for loop is to move the cursor to the next line. Move the cursor to the next line. Okay. So let us compile and run this, and we will see what kind of output we are going to get. Java C space. I am performing the compilation test.java. There is some additional braces, that's why we got this. Java C space test.java and Java space test. So see, there is a gap here. you fail. It means the for loop, the outer for loop has got executed successfully, leaving leaving 5 lines. Means for each and every iteration, it is moving the cursor to the next line. Right? But what is our actual requirement? Our actual requirement is to display the output in the form of this triangular star pattern. But the job of the outer for loop, what it is just doing, it is moving the cursor to the next line. First iteration, it is keeping the cursor in the first line. Second iteration, second line. Third iteration, third line. Fourth iteration, fourth line. Fifth iteration, fifth line. So the job of the outer for loop is done. Now to display star, we need to assign this job to the inner for loop. We need to assign the actual job to the inner for loop. Yes or no? Let us do that. Let me go back to the paint screen. Right now, inner for loop will come into picture. Let me write inner here. Let me write outer here. Outer inner for loop and outer for loop. Right? So these are the two persons that I have appointed to print the output in this fashion. This order. Right? So let me go back to the program. So we are ensured that the duty of the outer for loop is done with this for block. Now I need to write a program. I need to write a nested for loop now. So in this case I am taking integer j equal to 0, j equal to 1, j is lesser than or equal to j plus plus. So the job, this is the inner for loop. The job of the inner for loop is to print the stars. The output should be displayed in this pattern. Okay? But if you observe one thing, for the first iteration 1 star is getting printed, for the second iteration 2 stars, third iteration 3 stars, fourth iteration 4 stars, fifth iteration 5 stars. Right? Right? So let me run this. System.out.print. I'm just using star here. Inner for loop is going to take care of printing the stars. Outer for loop is going to take care of moving the cursor to the next line. So the stars should be printed on the same line. The outer for loop is going to move the cursor to the next line. I can say that star, the printing of stars is being taken care by inner. If I run this, I am sure that we are not going to get the right output. Let me run this. I am getting a square. I am getting the square, but I want to get a triangle. Right? If you observe one thing here, right? When the outer for loop is started, as soon as the outer for loop is getting started, the inner for loop is getting run for 5 times. For each and every iteration of the outer for loop, the inner for loop has to run for 5 times, which means 5 stars. I do not want to do that. My requirement is, if I equal to 1, j should run for 1 time. If I equal to 2, j should run for 2 times. If I equal to 3, j should run for 3 times. Right? If you focus the stars here, for each and every I, if I equal to 1, 1 star is printed. If I equal to 2, 2 stars are being printed. If I equal to 3, 3 stars. So the stars are depending directly, it has a direct relation to the value of phi, yes or no? The printing of star has a direct relation to the value of phi. Right? So instead of keeping it 5 here, I can assign I here, right? I assign I here, right? For first iteration of I, 1 star will be printed by j. For the second iteration, when I equal to 2, 2 stars will be printed. When I equal to 3, 3 stars will be printed. I equal to 4, 4 stars will be printed. I equal to 5, 5 stars will be printed. I equal to 6, the conditional statement will be false. So the control will come outside the loop. Let me run this and I will we will trace this program together for the better understanding. We got the triangle. Right? So let me take this program in the paint screen, the paint brush. Let me take only this part. Okay. Now we focus here. We have two for loops. One is outer for loop. Second one is inner for loop. Right. So when I equal to 1, so this is the outer for loop. This will be somewhere here and this will be somewhere here. The movement, the control will start from here. Right. It says I equal to 1. When I equal to 1, right, J will run for one time. This this inner for loop will run for one time. Right? When I equal to 2, J will run for one time, two times. Right? When I becomes 2, J will run for, this inner for loop will run for two times. When I equal to 3, inner for loop will run for 1, 2, 3 times. Likewise, when I equal to 4, inner for loop J will run for 1, 2, 3, 4 times. When I equal to 5, inner for loop will run for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Having said this, right, for the first iteration, I equal to 1. Just assume that for I equal to 1, this is I equal to 1. This one. Inner for loop will come into picture. J will run for one time. If the J is running for one time, 1 star will be printed, right? So that's why the output 1 star. So this is J. Right? When I becomes 2, so I becomes 2 means this outer, what the outer for loop is just trying to move the cursor to the next line. So it has moved to the next line. So this is I equal to 2. Right? So inner for loop, J will run for 1, 2 times, means 1 star, 2 star. Right? When I equal to 3, means outer for loop. Outer for loop is just doing a job of moving the cursor to the next line. Right? The outer for loop, the inner for loop will run for 1 times, 2 times, 3 times. I mean, you should imagine like this. This is inner for loop, right? You should be imagined like this: 1, 2, 3 times. Again, it will go back in. So when I equal to 4, outer for loop will move the cursor to the 4th line or the next line. Right? So inner for loop J, right? J will print star for 4 times. Right? When I equal to 5, just outer for loop is not doing anything, it is just placing the cursor to the next line. Right? Actual job is being done by the inner for loop, which is J. Right? When I equal to 5, J has to run for 5 times from 1 to 5. Right? So 5 stars will be printed: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I equal to 6, the control will be terminated because the conditional check is going to fail. When I equal to 6, the control will be terminated because the conditional check is going to fail. So the control will be transferred outside the outer for loop. So making sense how this is happening, everyone? Yes, no? What is this, sir? In the example, I have one doubt, sir. Yesterday, I didn't see this. I will explain it. First, you answer my question now. Is this example clear? Everyone, the job of the outer for loop and the job of the inner for loop. Yes, no? You are having any confusion? Yes. What does S means? S means clear or not clear? Right? So we are using two tools here, guys. What are the two tools? This is the tool number one. This is the tool number two. We are using print ln statement and print statement. That's it. We are not using anything. And two for loops. Actual job is being done by the inner for loop. Right? The outer for loop is there. Is only to move the cursor to the next line. It is not doing any other job apart from moving the cursor to the next line. If you understand this concept, developing the logic is going to be very easy. Yes or no? You can ask me why I have placed I here. Because this I, the value of j has a direct relation with I. The value of j has a direct relation with I. Because when I equal to 1, they should run only once. Then, right? If I equal to 1, the j should run only once. Right? That's why we get 1 star. If I equal to 2, j should run two times. If I equal to 3, because it is maintaining a direct relation. That's how we get a triangle. See, that's how we get a triangle. Or else we don't get triangle. If we are using, instead of I, if you are placing 5 where, we get square, but we want triangle. If you want triangle, there is a direct relationship between I and j. What is that? For each and every iteration of I, j should run for the I times. If it is 1, it should run for 1 time. If it is 2, it has to run for 2 times. Making sense? Everyone? Right? So let me answer. Sorry, before example, I want to actually you said if print line comes, the cursor will go to the next line. But in the today, you have put only print. Then how the cursor moves to the next line is because we have both outer. Okay, that's very simple. That's right. This inner loop will be printing the stars in the linear form. The job of the inner loop is for the first iteration. For the first iteration, star will be printed. Right? After this, the control has to come here, right? From here, the control will be traveling to the inner for loop. From this inner for loop, okay, star will be printed only once because there is no second iteration. The loop will run only once. After printing this, the control has to come here, right? So this is creating the new line, right? Hello, Darshini? I will tell you. There is no confusion here. I equal to 1. Okay, the control will come here. J equal to 1. J is lesser than or equal to I. Means in this case, J is lesser than or equal to 1. Because I is representing 1 for the time being. Right? The condition is true. Condition is going to be true, the control will get inside the for loop, right? It will print star will be printed in the console, right? So there is no second iteration because second iteration will be failed. When the second iteration is failing, the control has to come to the outer for loop, system.out.println, right? So this is giving the new line. This is generating the new line. Every time for each, after completing the inner for loop, the control has to come to the outer for loop, right? The moment it is coming to the outer for loop, this outer for loop is taking care of moving the cursor to the next line. As simple as that. Making sense? Everyone? Yes, no? Okay, Darshan. Now see, we will do a lot of manipulations here, right? So we got the right output and we got the right star pattern, right? But if the question is like, I want to generate, the question is like, this should be a number pattern, not a star pattern. So we have generated star pattern, but the question can be like, this should be a number pattern. For that, what manipulations can we do? Very simple. Instead of star, replace the star with I. Right? If you do this replacement, you can see the output. Number pattern is also achieved, right? But see, look at the number pattern 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5. But I want to produce a number pattern in a different form, right? So instead of I, you can go for chip, right? See, both the number patterns are really different. So same values are being printed here, but here you can see the actual values are being in the form of sequential increasing order, right? So now I want to generate the output in the form of character pattern, right? To generate the output in the form of character pattern, I need to add another variable here, right? I equal to 1, so I can use a variable to represent a character. For that I can take C equal to, in single quotations, A, right? And C plus plus, right? So in the inner for loop I can add another variable D equal to single quotation A comma D plus plus, right? So now you tell me, everyone, we have discussed this yesterday, so you should not telling me the wrong answer. Try to use C here. Just tell me one thing, are we going to get the character output or not? Right? The question is making clear, I think. What is the output now? Are we really going to get the character output, or the output is going to be non-character output? What about others? Chaitanya has answered. I'm going to spend a lot of time on patterns because I want to ensure that you are getting acquainted with the for loops and the inner for loop. Not character. Good, Raji. Not character output. Why not character output? Can anyone suggest me what changes I can make? I can make here to display the output in the form of character pattern. Good, Chaitanya. I need to do the typecasting, right? Good, Chaitanya. Yes, sure, correct. A simple, I am missing the typecasting. You know that already. You can represent a character, you can store a character in integer variable, but integer will store this character in the form of number, right? So both are integer. Integer will store in the form, store the character in the form of number. I need to convert that number to the character again. For that I need to do the typecasting. Now I can achieve this. See, right? Instead of this, I can do, I use D here. It will be in the sequential order, ascending order, increasing order. Right? So if I want to increase the height, see the triangle is very small, right? If I want to increase the height of the triangle, I can make a change here. What change I can make to increase height of the triangle? Instead of 5, if I take 10, so this is defining the size guide, right? This is going to define the size because if I take 10 lines will be created by the outer form, right? 10 lines will be created. The cursor will be moved to the next line for 10 times. The expression 2 is defining the height of the triangle. Can I say this? Height of the triangle, right? Right. We make 10, and instead of let us take the star output. Okay. Let me run this. See, right, the size of the triangle is getting increased, right? If I take 20, so we get a bigger triangle. right? So now if you see, the conclusion is very simple. This expression 2 is defining the height of the triangle, right? But if you look at this triangle, that this triangle is not even like, is somewhat like congested. I want to create some spaces between stars. I want to create some spaces between stars. So that what I can do, after this star I can give a space. I'm just giving one space here. See the output, there will be a lot of difference in the output. This is looking good, right? Everyone making sense? I want answers from you. Are you with me? Are you able to follow me? Yes, good, good. Why Shashwant is not responding? Why Shashwant? Okay. Okay. This concept is what somewhat we are getting it. Now I want to print this. I want to do the same thing. I want to print the inverted triangle. What does it mean? So this triangle is in the increasing order, but I want to do this time. I want to do the triangle in the decreasing order. Means 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, and 1 star. Can you build a program for this, or you want me to do this? Tell me fast. Are you capable of doing this? Everyone? This time my output should be in the form of decreasing triangle. The triangle should be decreasing. What changes that I can make here so that we will get this output? What changes that I can make so that the output will be, we get this output. Good, Chaitanya. This is my question. Putting I greater than J. Jyoti says J is lesser or equal to I. Chaitanya, I minus. Okay, let us build the intuition from our side. Let's understand this by looking at this. Okay, this is my requirement. So we know that if I appoint two persons, right, I need two persons to be appointed, right? So one person has to take care of moving the cursor to the next line. Which person will take care of moving the cursor to the next line? Outer for loop or inner for loop? Just answer this to me. Who will be taking care of? Okay, Samir, we will see. We will check everyone's answer. Who has to take care of? Which loop will be taking care of moving the cursor to the next line? Outer for loop or inner for loop? Answer that one. So we are going to have two loops, guys. One is outer for loop and the second one is inner for loop. Which for loop will actually move the cursor to the next line? Outer or inner? Sir, answer. You should be with me. You should not take much time in answering these questions. Outer or inner? Yeah, outer for loop, guys. Yes. Right. See, first we will build the outer for loop. Right. So building the outer for loop is not a big deal, right? Let me remove all this. Let me remove this. Let us keep the size as 5. I mean, the 1 to 5. Right? So, okay, a class, and we have a main method. Inside the main method, there is a for loop. Right? This is outer for loop. This outer for loop has to take care of moving the cursor to the next line for each and every inner for loop iteration. System dot out dot println. So if I run this, let us see if we are able to achieve it. See, 5 spaces are created. Right? Now we need to find the logic for the inner for loop. You know, the logic for the outer for loop is very easy. Just give the outer for loop. Just prepare a program for the outer for loop. So this is how the outer for loop looks like. The job of the outer for loop is to move the cursor to the next line. How many lines will be created? 5 lines will be created. Why 5 lines? Because this is what defining the result of the outer for loop. If you use 5 lines. If you use 10 lines. Right? Now we need to build a program to print the output in this order. Firstly, 5 stars to be printed. Secondly, 4 stars. Thirdly, 3 stars, 2 stars, or 1 stars. Right? So the inner for loop, to do the duty of the inner for loop, I mean to print the stars, we need to assign one more person, that is inner for loop. So this is the inner for loop and this is the outer for loop. Right? So when outer for loop, when I equal to 1, then when I equal to 1, right, when outer for loop has started its iteration for the first time, right, the inner for loop should print 5 stars. Means this cursor has to move for, inner for loop cursor has to move for 5 times. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Each and every time it has to print what? 5 stars. Right? If you build the relation, okay, for the first iteration, when I equal to 1, J is running for 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I equal to 2, J is running for how many times? 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. When I equal to 3, J is running for 3 times. 1, 2, 3. When I equal to 2, J should run for 2 times. 1, 2. When I equal to 1, J should run for 1 time. So it is decreasing. By this we can confirm that, right, decrement is happening. So I can create a for loop. I can create an inner for loop for integer. I don't know what is expression 1, I don't know what is expression 2, but I know one thing, right? The loop is getting decremented. So instead of j plus plus, I can use j minus minus. This is what I know for loop. Yes or no? We need to find expression 1 as well as expression 2. Right? So expression 1 is like j is starting from 5 and ending at 1. Yes or no? J is starting from 5 and it is ending at 1. Right? Hello? Everyone? Right? That is the case. I can say that integer j equal to 5. Right? J is lesser than or equal to 5. Right? System dot out dot println. There is a mistake in this loop. I will tell you what is that. Right? So if I use j lesser than or equal to I, right, it is like pi is lesser than or equal to I. The condition is going to return false. Since it is a negative loop, since it is a decrement loop, I should reverse this conditional statement. J is greater than or equal to I. Right? J is greater than or equal to I. Because if you go back to the paint screen, right, for I equal to 1, J is 5. For I equal to 2, J is 4. For I equal to 3, J is 3. For I equal to 2, J is 2. For I equal to 1, I mean it is just decreasing, right? So I can say the relationship between I and J equal to, right? For J, the conditional check should be like J should be checked with I every time, but J should be greater than I. Because we are reversing the loop. Right? Let us run this. Let's see if we are getting the same output. Right? Just see the relation. Let us trace this. I'm going to trace the next 5 programs. After that, no tracing will be there. We need to find the answers. Everyone focus here. I will trace from the beginning of the foundation. This is our program. Okay. So this is I. This is J. Initially I equal to 1. So 1 is stored inside the I. So first iteration, control will come here, right? And the thing is conditional check, right? So in this condition, 1 is lesser than or equal to 5. The condition is found to be true. Right? The control will come here. So J is initialized to 5. Right? From here the control will come here. Right? First conditional check is I is lesser than or equal to I. I is what? I is 1. The value of I is 1, right? So I can simply substitute it like I is lesser than or equal to 1. This is going to return true. So true means body of the loop. Right? What does it says? Print star. So in the console, star will be printed. Right? So from here again it will go here. Right? What does it say? J minus minus means 5 will become 4. Right? Again conditional check. 4 is lesser than or equal to 1. True. Right? If it is true, body, again in the body it says star. Star will be printed. Right? Again go back. Right? J minus minus 4 becomes 3. 3 is lesser than or equal to 1. Right? It returns true. True means body of the loop. Star will be printed. Again go back. J minus minus becomes 2. Right? 2 is lesser than or equal to 1. Sorry, 2 is greater than or equal to 1. It is true. Right? True means body of the loop. Star. Right? Again for the 5th time. J minus minus 1. Right? 1 means 1 is greater than or equal to 1. The condition remains true. True means body of the loop. Star will be printed. Right? For the 6th time. 6th time the condition fails, right? 0. I will get incremented to 0. But 0, however, it cannot be compared with 1. Because 0 is smaller than 1. There is a contradiction. It is going to return false. Right? When it is returning false, right, the control will jump to the outer for loop. Outer for loop says print, move the cursor to the next line. Right? So cursor will come here. This is the cursor, not 1. This is the cursor. Cursor will come here. Have you got to know the first iteration? Everyone? Are you with me until now? Yes? No? Everyone? Okay, good. Now the second iteration, right? From here, this is a little clumsy, right? So let me. Now you just imagine this outer for loop. I becomes 2 because I is again getting incremented I plus plus, right? So I becomes 2, right? 2 will be compared with I is lesser than or equal to 5. Right? It is going to return true only. Right? Again the inner for loop will be started. This time the boundary is set from, previously it was set from 5 to 1. This time it will be set from 5 to 5 to 2. It means 5 will be compared to 1, 5 will be 4 will be compared to 5 will be compared to 2, 4 will be compared to 2, 3 will be compared to 2, 2 will be compared to 2, 1 will not get compared to 2, it is going to return false, right? For all these truths, four truths, so 4 stars will be printed, right? Again the control will come to the outer for loop. Outer for loop is going to move the cursor to the next line. To keep continuing this, third iteration 3 stars, fourth iteration 2 stars, fifth iteration 1 stars, 1 step. Making sense, everyone? Yes, no? Darshini, Sashwant, Samikta, Rajibi. Okay, good, right? And the same thing you can write instead of star. If you use I, right, the numbers will be displayed. I hope you are getting this now slowly. Numbers will be displayed. You can choose the numbers. If you are using I, the number format will be different, and for J it is going to be different, sequential order, sequential increasing order, right? If you want to create space for the better observation, you can just use a space here. Since this is a variable, I cannot directly use space. This is a variable, that's why I'm adding a space with the plus symbol, plus operator. So space is correct. If you want to increase size, instead of 5, you take 40. 40 will not be done because we get, let us take 40. Instead of numbers, we will use star itself. Wait a minute. I should use 40 here as well, right? This is going to increase the triangle, and you can do one thing. So instead of using 30s, 40s and changing it here, you can assign a variable height equal to 40. I can replace this with height, right? So I can replace this also with height. Right? This is a direct relation. If it is height, it should. If it is 40, this should also be 40. Direct relation is that. Right? So you can make the changes only here. Right? The for loops will not get affected. Right? Making sense, everyone? Yes, no? Please respond, everyone. Good. Okay, I am keeping this topic very slow so that you will get acquainted with the for loops, especially the outer for loop and the inner for loop, right? On practicing, you will get a lot of confusions will be cleared actually. So this job is very easy, guys. But so the another program is there. Hey, now my requirement is I want to print or the output like this. The triangle should be in this format. So what changes I need to do here? Right? Let me give you some insight. So this is not just about the outer for loop and the inner for loop. To achieve this, I need to use two inner for loop. Why am I supposed to use two inner for loop? I will tell you. Right? So this, again, when you talk about the outer for loop, here the job of the outer for loop is to move the cursor to the next line. Okay, the job of the outer for loop is to move the cursor to the next line. But here so many things are happening which we are not able to see. What are those things? Right? The first iteration, four spaces are getting created. Space 1, space 2, space 3, space 4, space 5 and start. Let me do this way. Let me go back to the screen. It's like pyramid, forgot about this. Okay, what is happening is the first iteration. Let me take look. So the outer for loop, this is outer for loop. The job of the outer for loop is to move the cursor to the next line. When it is pointing to the first line, right? Four spaces has to create it. Firstly, four space S S S S and star. Right? In the second iteration again, when the A, the second iteration, again there should be three spaces followed by two stars. Right? The third iteration of the I, right? Internally, this is what happening. This is what should happen. Two spaces, three stars. Fourth iteration, one space, four stars. The fifth iteration, no space, and we need to have five stars. But when you look at the output, we are going to see only this, right? We are going to see only this output. But internally, we also need to be we are also responsible to create spaces, right? So outer for loop, one outer for loop we need, and we need two inner for loop. To achieve this, one outer for loop, and we need two inner for loops, because one inner for loop is to create spaces, the another inner for loop is to print stars. How do we achieve this? I will explain you. Just have you got the idea now? Why we need two inner for loops here? Everyone? Yes, no, maybe. Have you got the idea? Have you got the approach? Everyone answer. I want to ensure that we are on the same page. Okay. Good, Ganesh. First, our job is to ensure the outer for loop. So outer for loop is very easy. So this line is going to help us in moving the cursor to the next line. So this is outer for loop. For the time being, let me keep it as 5 itself. Right? If I run this, so spaces, we don't have any issues with outer for loop, but now I need to print the first loop. I need to print four stars and four spaces followed by one star. In the second iteration of the I need to print three spaces followed by two stars. I need to create a for loop for spaces. I need to create a for loop for printing stars. Right? Firstly, for int I equal to A is lesser than or equal to right? A plus plus so if I run this, the output is not going to be the same. We will get the actual triangle which we have discussed previously. Right? So this is the triangle that we got. So this is the output. This is the output we got. But before printing this first star, I should print 4 spaces before the first star. Before printing the 2 stars, before these 2 stars, I need to ensure that there are 3 spaces getting created. Likewise, if you see the diagram, I need to achieve the spaces. For that, I need to use another for loop, right? So this is the one for loop. So here I am writing another for loop. Right? So instead of star, I am using a space. Instead of star, what I am trying to use here, I am using a space. Right? But if you look at this problem, the spaces are decreasing in the decreasing order. Spaces are in the decreasing order, not in increasing order, because the first line 4 spaces, second line 3 spaces, third line 2 spaces, fourth line 1 spaces, fifth line 0 spaces. Means we need to do decrementation here, right? But if you look at the stars are in the increasing order. Yes or no? 1, 2. Thank you for rejoining, guys. Let me go back to the problem. Okay, the spaces are in the decreasing order and the stars are in the increasing order, right? If you look at this relation, right, since the spaces are in the decreasing order, I should use decrement for the spaces, and since the stars are in the increasing order, I should use increment for the stars. Okay. Right? So this loop is meant for spaces. This inner for loop is meant for spaces, and this inner for this second inner for loop is meant for stars. Right? Since this is the decreasing order, I am going to use j minus minus. Right? When I use minus minus, I need to change this greater than or equal to, right? So it has a direct correlation. Let me use 5. Right? If you observe one thing here, for the spaces, it is starting from 4 to 0. Right? So I need to make changes in such a way that instead of 5, I should use 4. Because for the first line 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 stars and 0 stars. So let us see, are we getting the output if I run this? Okay. So many errors we got. What is it? Can anyone find the error? System dot out dot print. Are we making any mistake? Class test public static void use. This is one inner for loop. This is another inner for loop. System dot out dot print ln. So let me open the command prompt. Just give me a time. Not out dot print. What is the mistake here? Sorry, my mistake. Let's start Java space test. Okay, we are getting the one. Right? Let me explain you this in a better way. This is our program. So this is outer for loop. So when you talk about outer for loop, the job of the outer for loop is to move the cursor to the next line. So this is taking care of that. Right? So there are two inner for loop. This is one inner for loop and this is another inner for loop. Right? But when you specifically talk about the job of the inner for loop, the first inner for loop is creating spaces. For loop is creating spaces and second inner for loop is creating what? It is printing the stars. Right? If you look at the first inner for loop, the iteration is starting from 4, 3, this is the boundary, 2, 1. Right? This is in the decreasing order. Right? If you look at the second inner for loop, it is in the increasing order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What does it mean? When I equal to 1, right, the j has to run for 4 times. Right? When I equal to 1, this j has to run for 4 times, means 4 spaces needs to be created. Right? So the output is going to be, for I equal to 1, this is the cursor. Right? First 4 spaces will be created. Space 1, space 2, space 3, space 4. The job of the j is done. The control will come to k, the second inner for loop. Right? K is directly proportional, so right, in the first execution it will execute only once. When I equal to 1, it will execute only once. That's why 1 star will be created, printed. Right? Now when I equal to 2, right, now the j will run for 3, 2, 1 times. It will not start from 4, it will start from 3. Why it will start from 3? If you trace this, you will get to know. So 3 times it will get iterated. So three spaces will be created. Space, space, 3 space. Right? After this, the control will come here. This time, k will run for 1, 2 times. Means 2 stars will be printed. Why 2 stars will be printed? Just try to do the tracing from here and you will get to know. Right? Now again, when I equal to 3, right, the j will run only from 2 to 1. Means 2 spaces will be created. right? Again, control will be transferred here. Now this time the K will run from 1 to 3 increasing order. So 3 stars, right? So now I becomes 4. When I equal to 4, the J will run only once, one space, right? So this time K will run for 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 stars, right? Control will come, I equal to 5, J will run 0 times, so no space will be printed. It is not running, this loop is not getting executed. But K will run for 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means 5 stars has to be printed. We don't see this in the output. Spaces are not, we are blind to spaces, but we are seeing this. Making sense? Everyone? Just tell me if you are finding this complicated, you can, you are like, please feel free to post in the comment box. If you are finding this complicated, try to post in the comment box. Are we good till now? Everyone? Ashwan, Darshini, Jyoti, Chaitanya, Amita, Raji, Jyoti, yes. Are able to follow or not? Are you finding any difficulties? Just keep me informed. Jyotian is raising her hand. Tell me, Jyotian. If you have any difficulties, you can ask me this, because I am keeping this patterns concepts really slow. Outside, no one will explain you like this. They will explain, they will complete the pattern concepts in 1 hour. You will not even find a time to grasp. People, there are some people